Good evening, runners, and welcome to the United Airlines NYC Half 2022 course strategy session. This is the last one we are doing before your race in about 12 hours, Coach Roberto.
Yeah, I don't have my watch. I
left 6 o'clock, or a little bit more, maybe 13, 14 hours.
Yeah.
It's 6 o'clock now. So we're going to go over the course mile by mile, some before the race starts and some after the race finishes. So you are fully prepared for tomorrow. So any last minute questions you have, please put them in the chat because we're going to answer those questions for you throughout the chat. So hopefully all runners now have got their bib from the experience, so we don't need to tell you where to go to get that bib. So you have your bib, you're ready to go, you're in your hotel room or your house, just kind of get the final last minute things down before the race. Maybe you're laying out your race gear in your bed, taking a photo of it so you don't forget anything. But guys, like I said, we're going to go mile by mile of this course. So Coach Roberto, let's talk about the 3 things runners should remember. What's the first one?
Nothing new on race day. So obviously the experience just concluded. Literally, I'm checking my imaginary watch, 6 o'clock. But yeah, so you probably picked up some awesome gear. Based on what we saw, New Balance was absolutely wiped out. So kudos to those folks there. So nothing new on race day essentially means get to the race tomorrow and even the night before tonight with what has worked for you in your long runs and your training runs and your training the weeks and months prior. So tonight, you should eat something that's very familiar to you, whether it's something you brought with you or you're hitting a familiar restaurant or a familiar menu. Tomorrow morning, you should know what you're going to have for breakfast as well. Again, something you either brought with you from home or something that is local and, again, familiar to you. And then you should also know what you're going to eat and drink on the course. Obviously, we'll have those sort of amenities every other mile or so, about 7, 8 stations in total. But again, you shouldn't be leaving anything up to chance. You should know what you're going to wear, what you're going to wear on your feet, what you're going to wear as far as clothing, and what you're going to eat the night before, the morning of, and of course, out on the course.
That's right. Second one, guys, do not race before the race. This is a 13.1 mile journey through Brooklyn and Manhattan. I don't want you to have to add miles beforehand because you missed your train, you're running late. So make sure you give yourself ample time tomorrow morning to get to the start line. So if you think it's going to take you, 30 minutes, just give yourself an extra 15 buffer room in case the subways are delayed, in case your train's crowded, in case there's extra lines. There's 25,000 people doing the same thing you are doing tomorrow morning, and that is a lot of people. I know it's a big question we got at the experience, Roberto, is why do I need to be at the Prospect Park so long before my start? Once again, so many people are doing the same thing you are doing. So once again, if you are also checking a bag, make sure you know what subways it takes because it's different than those who are not checking bag. If you are checking your race bag and the only bag you can check is a clear plastic bag you got when you got your race bib, make sure you take the Q or the S train. It's going to drop you off on the east side of Prospect Park. And if you're not checking a bag, you can take the trains F and the G train, which are drop you off on the west side of the park. Once you get off the train, just follow all of the runners. Everyone's going the same direction. There's usually signs or volunteers out there showing you where to go. So don't stress about that. Just get on the train, get in your Uber, your taxi, whatever it is, and just give yourself ample time to arrive at the start line in case of any delays. Now, Roberto, the third one is do not go out too fast. What's that about?
Yeah, that means the race has started.
Go ahead.
That means the race has started, of course, and you're just kind of hold back. Everybody's super excited. I don't know why you're laughing. We've seen a lot of runners today in the last few days, like people coming from all around the world, all around the country. They're super excited. So you've trained really hard. You train really well. Steve, come on, man. So you train really hard, you train really well, and you want to really just hold back. The first few miles have a lot of the biggest climbs. You have Battle Pass Hill, you have Flatbush, which you're going up and down, and then, of course, you have Manhattan Bridge. So we tend to go out fast when we're really excited, we're really nervous, and a lot of people are trying to bob and weave, but the race is 13.1 miles long, so you can't win the race in the first mile, but you can certainly jeopardize your best race result in those early miles. So try to avoid going out too fast. Of course, we'll have our pace team out there as well. Coach Steve could hold on to the pace stick there. So, for example, if you see a pacer in your corral, they'll have something like this. In this example, it's a 2:30 pacer, so they're going to try to finish around 2:30 or 2:29:30. And on the other side, you'll see that's the per mile pace, 11:26 per mile. Coach Steve is actually going to be our pacer tomorrow for the 2-hour pace group, so he'll be running around a 9:09 per mile pace or effort throughout. So again, don't go out too fast. Try to hold back. Be conservative because you could always pick up the pace if you feel you've gone out too fast, but you can't make up for going out too fast, later on.
That's right, guys. And there are also a few health and safety stuff and logistics before the horn goes off. I want to go over. AJ, let's pull up my map here. We're going to talk a little bit of health and safety. Guys, getting to the start line as you take the MTA or your Uber. Masks still are required in a lot of those places, so please wear your mask. You do need your mask in the start village and the corrals. During your 13.1 mile journey, you do not need to wear a mask. You can, but you do not need to wear one. And then masks will be provided for you at the finish line as well. So you can put that mask back on if you lost it or you got one that was a little wet. We'll have new ones for you. If you're checking a bag, like I said before, bag check in those clear plastic bags that were given to you at the experience. I believe there's usually extras if you lost it or still at the start line, but those are the only bags you can use. And we'll partner with our UPS friends, and they'll transfer the bag from Prospect Park all the way to Central Park at the finish line. And also to keep in mind, stay warm at the start line. It's not going to be too chilly out there. We're looking about 40, 45 degrees Fahrenheit out there, so nothing extremely cold. But you know, find something that you can throw away before the start of the race in the corrals. We donate everything to Goodwill, but just make sure the shirt you want to finish on is where you have your bib pinned to. So I don't want you taking off the bib to change it to the lower shirt. So you can wear like a sweater or a hoodie over your race shirt and then take that off as the race begins. But staying warm is important out there. And last but not least, before the horn goes off, this is our start map. We have gone over a little bit, but just as a reminder, those checking a bag must enter Prospect Park on the Q side, Q train line, and then those not checking their bag can go on the west side of the park, the F or the G train. This common question we get, we only want runners at the start line. We do not want friends, families there. They cannot view the race. There is NYPD security that only lets runners in with bibs to the start line. So please have your friends and family. They can take you maybe to the subway and then watch you in mile 2, 3 along the race, but only runners are allowed in the runner start village, Roberto. So we are at the start line. We're warm. We are ready for mile 1 of this great course, United Airlines NYC Half.
Yeah, exactly. So the gun has gone off. You obviously know which wave and corral you're in. You start appropriately. And again, you don't go out too fast. So the race is going to run through Prospect Park. For those of you familiar with the park, you obviously know what you're getting into. For those of you who are not, we're going to go from the start line and run straight for a little bit. And then we're going to make a left-hand turn to get on the Prospect Park Drive. And we're going to start going up Battle Pass Hill. So you immediately hit one of the biggest hills, the biggest climbs of the course, early on. As you can see in the map, it's about 150 feet elevation. So it's not a lot, especially for some people coming from higher elevation states or have been training a lot of hills, but it is a significant and sizable hill to hit in that first mile when a lot of people are going out too fast. So this is an example of where our pacers, in this case, Coach Steve, he knows that he has to average about 9:09 per mile, but what he's going to do is just run that effort, understand that that first mile split may be something like 9:15, 9:20, 9:30, what have you, but also knowing that as soon as you get to the top of that, you will be running along Flatbush and then kind of going down a little bit and going back up. So again, you want to use those first early miles in Prospect Park, Battle Pass Hill, going around Grand Army Plaza and Flatbush, just to kind of settle in and mind your effort. Don't worry too much about your pace because it's probably going to be bouncing all over the place, and also the fact that there will probably still be quite a few people around you. So I always like to say there's 2 reasons that people around you should be going faster than you or ahead of you, especially in those early miles. Number 1, they're quicker than you, in which case, by all means, let them go. And then number 2, they're going out too fast. They're not heeding our advice, in which case, definitely let them go because I promise you, you will see many of them back later on in the race, especially if you follow a good race strategy.
That's right, guys. And one thing about Battle Pass Hill, those who have not run it before, it has what we call false peaks, where it's deceptively longer than you think. You're going to kind of start the hill, and some people say it starts at this street, but you finally start cresting the hill, and you kind of make a right and a left. And you think you're done with the hill, but then you do make another right, and so just keep your tone, your effort level the same going up that hill. It will end at a stoplight way up top. But it is a pretty hard climb, especially within the first mile. As Roberto said, you kind of got them out. And I like the part on Flatbush right here. It's kind of hard to tell on this map, but it's actually like an out and back. So you go out one way, you do a hairpin turn, almost like a U-turn, and then come back the same direction on the other side of the street. I like it because you can high-five other people. You can see maybe who's ahead of you, if the pace team is right ahead of you or behind you. Now, you're not racing yet, but it's good to kind of see where people are. Save that energy for later on in the race. It's just a really cool environment to have those runners who are behind you and in front of you and see kind of where everyone is. You're going to head down Flatbush and notice on the elevation map, it is a big downhill going down Flatbush. So use that energy. It's free speed, so use it, but don't add any extra gear to it. Just let it take its coast down the hill because you need to save some energy later on. As we said, Flatbush is at that 5K point. As you see here, it does open up. A lot of runners get boxed in, especially maybe if you think you're in the wrong corral, you've been training better than you thought you have. It will open up on Flatbush Avenue. You see the big opening we had here in 2019 or 2018. So feel free to make some moves on Flatbush Flatbush, but the race is still in the first 5K, so don't make too many moves, but feel free to get in your rhythm, get in the groove of what pace you want to run. Here's what our NYRR pace teams that we talked about earlier. You'll see them out there in those blue and white striped shirts. AJ, let's toss up our pacer location one last time for those runners who are still looking for their great pacer. They'll be in every corral out there on race day, so you're going to see wave 1, 2, 3, 4. These are the pace team runners out there. They're the best in New York City, which I think it means the best in the world. Runners can move back waves and corrals, but you cannot move forward. So feel free. This is the pacers coming out tomorrow, so you'll see them in the corrals. They'll try to get to the middle of the corral, so you'll be able to find them on race day. As we head out of Flatbush Avenue, you're going to go on to what I think is one of the hardest parts of the course, Coach Roberto, which leads you into Manhattan Bridge. Yeah,
it sure does. Yeah, one thing I'd like to just give a shout out, let us know where you're watching from. The last few days have been awesome. We've been doing these live here. Obviously, we're getting a bit giddy because we're pretty tired, but we've been doing these live, and then we go to the experience, and we get to interact with the runners. Obviously, we won't be doing that after this because the experience is closed, but it's really awesome to connect with your runners. So if you're watching, let us know where you're watching from. Hopefully, you're already in town if you're running the race, and send us any questions you have. But yeah, as Coach C just said, the Manhattan Bridge, which we have this dandy, awesome video that all week long I've been taking credit for filming with my GoPro and my paragliding skills, which is not true. Yeah, so this is a cool section of the course where it's absolutely open, it's exposed. The bridge is closed. We did have a few people asking us, will there be cars on it? Obviously not. We want people to get across safely, but you are exposed to the winds. It could be a crosswind, it could be a headwind, but it also takes you to about 100, I think 30 feet or so elevation, so one of the highest points of the course behind Battle Pass Hill. So in this section, I actually tell people the race can begin after this section. So when you're coming off Flatbush, which is a long, gradual downhill, then you'll see this in front of you. The bridge looks like super, super long, and it's almost exaggerated how steep it is, but it really isn't. It's just an optical illusion, but it is something to be mindful of because your pace, once again, should dip as long as you focus on the effort. If you actually are hitting your pace, like, again, that 909 per mile for that 2-hour half marathoner, if you manage to hit 909 per mile running up that incline, you're actually working harder. So you might be good because you're hitting the times, but you're actually putting in a harder effort. So I would say just save that, go on effort, because on the backside of the Manhattan Bridge, it's a pretty solid downhill that'll deposit you into Chinatown as you zigzag through there.
That's right, guys. You're going to take this white line here as you come over Manhattan Bridge, make a sharp right, another right. I think you end up on Pike Street, I believe it is.
Yep.
It actually takes you under the Manhattan Bridge a little bit, and then you're going to head on out left onto Flatbush Avenue, which is the flattest part of the course. As you can kind of see there, really no
FDR.
Elevation. I'm sorry, what did I say?
Yeah, Flatbush.
Flatbush,
yeah.
we're
if
past
you get off
Flatbush.
the bridge and you go back to Brooklyn, you're in trouble.
So you're going to take FDR. Thank you for paying attention, Roberto.
Yeah, I got
FDR as you go up through mile 7 or so. This is another unique part of the course because this is a part of the course that you can't run on your everyday New York lifestyle. So this highway is closed right here. You're going to be running on the side closest to the water, so the east side. It is flat, so this is where a lot of runners are going to start chipping off time if they're trying for a negative split. A lot of times they go out a little bit slower than early on, and this is the time where you're going to get in that groove. Once again, do 909, use that example. We might be high 8s, low 9s for this part of the course. We're trying to make up that time, but still, once again, we're still conservative. We're not giving it all. We're not, breathing too heavily at this point. We're still enjoying the race out there. You also just keep in mind, as you exit the bridge, one thing I did forget to mention, you're going to have our gel zone out there. We have brand new partners, Science and Sport Gels. They'll be right after the bridge, about miles 6.1 or 6.2 or so. Going back to nothing new on race day, if you have never had Science and Sports, you can grab 1 or 2 of those gels and save them for the next race, next training runs, because they will be at future races for New York road runners. But you can also bring your own gels or goos, whatever you need along the course. And we'll also have our partners Gatorade and water along the course as well, so you can grab those about 7 or 8 times throughout the course, Coach Roberto. So it brings you up into 42nd Street.
Yeah, sure does. So there's, as you can see, there's relatively flat, but there is a bit of an on-ramp or off-ramp because we are on the FDR. So getting up to 42nd Street, you'll have that little bit of a climb. Again, when you look at it on the map, whether you've been at the experience or obviously here on the screen, it is obviously a bit more compressed, so every incline looks a little bit more exaggerated, but it's still good to know because as Coach T just said, you've just run the last several miles on the FDR that are relatively flat. And then you do seem to have a little bit of a climb. So technically from around 42nd Street all the way more or less to the finish, you are gaining a bit of elevation, but it's gradual and it's spread out over a bit over 5K. So don't really stress about it too much. So you can still continue to work on that pace that you've been trying to stay on, because maybe you were a little bit more conservative in the early days. So you make that left off the FDR, and you get to, start to get to some iconic locations in New York City by running on 42nd Street. So you pass the Chrysler Building, you pass Grand Central Station there, and you'll be making your way towards 7th Avenue. But this stretch right here is really great too, because there's a lot of spectators. So on the Manhattan Bridge and FDR, there aren't any spectators. So you just hit two sections where you're kind of just out there on your own with the fellow runners. Chinatown, there will be some spectators, but it's also a small section. So basically from here on out, you have spectators wall to walls on each side of the road, each side of the street, on your way towards Times Square and 7th Avenue.
Yeah, and Times Square, guys, this is why we sign up year after year after year to run the United Airlines NYC Half. It is spectacular. You feel like you just won the Super Bowl or the playoffs, whatever it is. This is your moment, and enjoy it. Times Square is closed 2 times a year. One of those is the New Year's Eve ball drop, and the second time is this race that you'll be running tomorrow morning in about 16 hours. And enjoy it. It is a lot of fun. It is gradual uphill, so keep that in mind as you're running up this. But we actually had our professional athlete, Ben True, on a chat Monday, and he was talking about going through about 10 miles, 11 miles, and that is where a lot of pro athletes will throw out, and that's where you start the race. It's a 10-mile long run and a 5K race, if you think about it that way. So you can start picking up that effort level going up this hill into Times Square. But enjoy Times Square, soak in the efforts, and enjoy it. We do also have our Times Square Kids Run. It's a Rising New York Roadrunners. They're running about 1,500 meters. For some of them, it's the first long distance run they've ever done. So give them a high five, give them a shout. Sometimes they will, as we see in this person here, they will start racing you. So give them a round of applause as you run by them. But don't let them slow you down, because, guys, the race is still on. As you head north, you can make a right-hand turn on Central Park South, Roberta, for mile 12.
Yeah, so at this point of the race, regardless of how you pace yourself, there's so little left, about a mile and change left, that you're either, if you're feeling good, dynamite, just start to, pick up the pace gradually, work on that long sustained kick. At this point, we're all become mathletes, where we're thinking, okay, if I run this last mile or mile and a half in so-and-so time, I'm going to hit my goal time. If I run it if you're not feeling that great, you understand that you need to kind of maintain a little bit so you don't lose time. So this last section here, you kind of just start to also see either people that might have gone out too fast early before. I always like to shout out my man over here on the far right, who is walking while the other people around him are running. He also has, I think, a C corral, and the other people around him are D. So again, this is maybe somebody who is not having a great day, but the good thing is the last mile of the United Airlines NYC Half, the last mile or two of the TCS New York City Marathon, really the last mile of any of our major races, you always have so many people really rallying around each other, because some of them have been running together for many miles or a couple hours. So they're kind of like not really racing each other, but really supporting each other. So this is a really awesome section. You're running on Central Park South. There's some iconic places there to see it. You're passing your second Grand Army Plaza of the day. The first one was obviously in Prospect Park in Brooklyn. This one is right here in Manhattan on Central Park South. And then you're going to make your way into Central Park itself. Yeah,
Central Park, guys. You're there. You're in Central Park. You made it from park to park. And the cool thing about Central Park, we have took out all the main hills for you to run. So there's no Cat Hill. There's no Harlem Hill. There's no Three Sisters on the west side. You do have just a few rolling hills. But once again, you're in your last kick. Nothing that you haven't done before. Just, once again, be aware there's a few rolling hills at the end. It's not a pancake flat. That's really what you got to keep in mind. You're going to make a left-hand turn onto the 72nd transverse. You're going to pass Bethesda Fountain, make one more left-hand turn. We like to make New York Roadrunner courses challenging, so there is a slight uphill at the very end. But no matter what, you're going to finish the race with your arms in the air, like these ladies going across the finish line. And celebrate that, you guys, no matter what your time is, and if you hit your goal or not, you just completed the United Airlines NYC Half. We keep your time, so no need to stop that watch exactly. Put those hands in the air and celebrate, guys. And as you come across the finish, you are going to get your medal handed to you, or probably around your neck. You're going to get a recovery bag from partners at HSS. Start taking that supplements as soon as you can. So there's water, Gatorade. There's water from our partners at Flow Water in there. Gatorade, there's probably some apples or pretzels in there. As soon as you can, start eating some food. That's when recovery happens. You're going to get a heat sheet to keep you nice and warm. And if you're checking your bag, you can get that bag out there as well, Roberto.
Yeah, and one piece of advice that we always like to give, and we've been talking about it the last week at the experience, is if you haven't done it already, whether you're racing or you're spectating, download the United Airlines NYC Half mobile app. You could download on the Google Store, the iOS Store, and that'll help you be able to track your friends and family. So, I would put in Steve Mura in there. That's his first and last name.
Thanks.
There you go.
Tracking.
Yeah,
See if it hits a time.
I won't put in his social security number. But yeah, you can put in their bib, you can put in their first and last name, what have you, and then you add them to the tracker, and it'll say they've crossed the line, they started, they're at mile 1, et cetera. And the cool thing is, not only do you see where they are, but it actually projects their finish time. So again, you want to make a plan on where you're going to meet up after the finish line, because obviously as recovery starts with the HSS bag, Hospital for Special Surgery, we also have the bag pickups if you've checked the bag. So hopefully you have a change of clothing there, top, because you might be, obviously a bit sweaty and don't want to get cold. But also there's the family reunion, but there's also cell phone saturation, or your battery might have died if you're listening to music for part of the race. So make sure you download the app, track your friends and family. You'll know when they've started the race, you know when they've finished, and you can approximate when you'll be meeting them at a predetermined location.
Yeah, here's our finish line map. And just like to start, that blue area you see is runners only. So friends and family can't get into Central Park. You cannot cheer at the exact finish line. So 13.1 miles, you cannot cheer there. You can cheer in Central Park. Once again, on the 72nd transverse along the east side of the park, you can cheer there, just that blue area you cannot cheer from. You will have family reunion, as Roberto said. And your bag, to get your bag, you actually go outside of Central Park. If you need to go to the east side of east side of the city, you can head over to the subway. There's a underpass along 7th Avenue that you can get to the east side as well. But those family reunion areas, or where you're going to meet your friends and family, is very important. It could be a coffee shop, it could be a restaurant, a hotel. Anywhere west is usually the best to go, and then just hop on your subway, head home, because you are and wear that medal, of course, on the subways, because you are a finisher of the United Airlines NYC Half. And I think we have a few shout-outs I want to get to, because this chat, we want to hear your questions and your shout-outs. So JC says, great tips, Steve. You are welcome, JC.
Yeah. Malik from Laurel, Maryland. That's where they're watching from. Thanks for watching.
We have Luis coming in from Freehold, New Jersey tomorrow morning. I'm from New Jersey. I keep saying from. But
yeah, I have to call you out.
I live in New Jersey. I don't know where Freehold is. That tells you how much I'm not in New Jersey.
Freehold
local.
is in New Jersey.
Central does exist, yeah.
Yeah, Central New Jersey. Sanjay from Towako, New Jersey.
Craig says, traveled over from Scotland. Love it. Watching from Manhattan.
Aberdeen.
Yeah, Aberdeen. Thank you so much for joining us.
Terry, hi from Virginia. Whoa, with the
Love
emoji.
The emoji. Yes,
right.
I think the first
we've been
emoji
doing
we've
this all
seen.
weekend. Yeah, that's the first emoji. So shout out to Terry.
More emojis.
Yeah.
Let's see. Do we have any more? Let's see. First question we have. Craig says, should you stick on the bag?
Yes.
Check sticker on the bag. Yes, that is what the bag check sticker is for. So please put that on. That'll help when you do get your bag at the end. They're going to look at your bib and make sure it matches your bag. So give the bag to the right person. So make sure you stick that on tonight before you go to bed.
Malik, are masks provided in the corral? I'm hoping to run without my mask. Check my mask with my baggage. You will need it when you're entering the Prospect Park in the morning and to enter the corral. After that, you could discard it or put it in your pocket. And then when you cross the finish line, as Coach Steve said, in the bag that you'll get from our partners at our Hospital for Special Surgery, there'll be a mask in there. So you'll be able to put that on if you want, right then and there. Of course, if you have your other one in your check bag or a spare one in your check bag, you could also grab that as well.
Sky says, what's the winds like on the course? It's a really good question, something we didn't touch on too much. I just noticed more wind along the Manhattan Bridge. Sometimes it's a crosswind coming at you. FDR, sometimes you get it. Once again, cross. It just depends on the wind and the flow, but I noticed it there. And then 42nd Street is another area I noticed. 42nd, only if it's a headwind. Sometimes the wind goes from west to east, and you might get you'll notice you're going to get it because if the FDR is windy from your left to your right side going across the water, expect it on 42nd Street and more of a headwind, but it's very short, obviously, on 42nd Street. So that's the three places I do notice wind, but we'll see tomorrow.
Yeah, and the cool thing is that once you get onto 42nd Street and even 7th Avenue, sometimes the buildings there help shield you from the wind, but on different times that could also create a wind tunnel. So, yeah. It's New York City, so we deal with the elements, but I would say that if it is relatively windy, pro tip, just kind of shield yourself behind your pacer if you're running with a pacer. So Coach Steve will have loads of people doing that to him.
Form a long line.
Yeah, if it is windy, or or just kind of lean into it a little bit and focus on effort. Lily, will there be metal engraving services after the race? So we won't be having metal engraving. In years past, we have. So I know that there's, our colleague Liz told me there's a metal engraving place in Westchester, which is not exactly around the corner, but other places around the city will probably be doing it as well. So yeah.
A question from Luis. Which train will bring me back to Prospect Park after the race? So look at the start map once again. It depends on maybe you're parking in Prospect Park. So you have the Q train, which is express from the city, and then you can catch it there at the 57th Street and 7th Avenue stop. You can also, though, if you need to get to the other side, you can transfer to the F somewhere along when you're in the city. So look at the start line map, and you'll see which trains will get you to Prospect Park. Also, just you can use the MTA app. You can download the MTA app in your app store, and that'll give you use a good scheduler and train-by-train location how to get to where you want to go.
Yeah. Ellen, what do you recommend for dinner tonight and breakfast tomorrow? Well, I honestly would recommend something relatively unexciting, something that you've probably had before that you've tried and tested. So obviously we're all spend different times on the course and we have different needs, but to play it safe, carbohydrates would be good for the night before. That doesn't mean go out and have like an all-you-could-eat pasta dinner, but just eat sensibly. Again, you've probably done several long runs before, so don't do anything out of the ordinary. And what sort of pasta you have and the quantity is up to you. And then for breakfast, again, everybody's different. Some people could eat literally an hour before. Some people eat just as they get to the start village area or Prospect Park in this case. Some people need to get up actually extra early to eat beforehand. So you want to make sure that, again, you're eating for breakfast something that works well for your stomach. So like I'm somebody who could eat French toast with whipped cream and go out and run, no worries. But obviously most people, they do that. They'll be running sideways around mile 6. So I would say, maybe a toast or a bagel with, oatmeal as well, maybe some fruit. But how much of that you have and what combination is really up to you.
Next we have Michael. Do we need to bring a photo ID to the race? We do not want you to bring anything that you want lost, so please keep the photo IDs at home. You do not also need to bring any vaccination proof at the start line because you did all that going into the experience. So everyone has been verified that they're vaccinated and no photo ID is needed at the start line, Michael.
Jennifer, can you discard clothes along the course? Yeah, you can. I mean, it's not encouraged because it's a lot harder for people to pick up. We encourage people to do that in the corrals. And before that, we have our partners with Goodwill, and we have bins for donations. So I know myself and Coach Steve will be doing that. He bought me a really horrendous hoodie yesterday that I'll be discarding as soon as I can.
You're welcome.
Yeah, but yeah, I mean, obviously, we encourage people to dress in layers. That way, as they're getting across the bridge and the wind dies down or they're feeling warmer, they could discard the clothing. So yeah, you obviously can. Nobody's going to really police it, but the last thing we also want is people discarding clothing on the Manhattan Bridge and having the river just look like my kid's bedroom.
Next we have Carolina. Can we enter Prospect Park through Bridal Pritchett Square for bag check? No, only you can. Let's bring up the map one more time, AJ, just to make sure we are clear about the start village. All runners have 2 places to enter the start village. I'll pull it up. It's kind of small. Let's see if we make it. There we go. To enter Prospect Park, there's actually 2 sections. You can only enter on the east side over there and the west side. Those are the 2 sections. This is also on the website, a little bit bigger area. You're going to be following the runners, so to know the exact street locations, it's okay. But even if you come in, you cannot enter Center Drive because this is where the race is, so that is a no-go. But these are only 2 locations, if you're checking the bag or not, where you can enter the start line. This is just for safety of all runners, volunteers, and staff, and to get the flow going, because we want everyone to enter the NYPD zone right there.
Yeah. Terry, how strict is the 12 p.m. cutoff for bag check pickup? Back of the pack are concerned with finishing close to the cutoff. So it's relatively strict, but again, that 12 p.m. pickup, that's when they start to really close things down. But they'll also realize that there's 5 bags left or 10 bags or 20. So we've had this question come up a lot in person at the experience, people thinking that maybe they're going to be at the cutoff or thereabouts. So the course will stay open in Central Park. The finish line will stay open as well. So, that pickup is also has to do with how we're closing reopening the roads, because obviously we have Manhattan Bridge closed, we have the FDR closed, and then 42nd Street, Times Square. So we just want safety for the runners, but also to work with the city. So I would say don't worry too much when you come in. Your bag should be, not should, but will be there, and if not, it will be moved somewhere, and the volunteers will let you know.
Cool, we got some shout outs coming in. More people letting us know where they're watching from. See if we can pull those up. We got Nathan says Toronto, Canada. Woo!
Yep. Or since it's Canada, it's like woot, like it's a boot. We have Pantianini, hi from Philadelphia.
There you go.
Hello.
Coming in, Delisa from Monroe, New Jersey. Hello. A lot of New
Jersey,
Jerseyans.
yeah.
Love it.
More than New Yorkers.
Yeah.
New Yorkers are resting.
Feel
New
like I'm at
Jersey's,
home.
yeah. We have Kevin. We have Kevin repping from Palm Beach County, Florida. Kevin, I like that.
Love it. We got Julia. Oh, another emoji. Look at this.
Yeah.
North Caldwell, New Jersey. Look at this. Love it. Thank you for writing in.
This is United Airlines New Jersey Half Marathon. We have Jeffrey, first New York City half, taking the subway from my home in FIDI, which I learned is the financial district. Yeah, I lived in New York City for several years, and somebody told me they live in FIDI.
Do you know
and I was
Soho
like,
means?
yeah, south of Houston.
Cool. Okay. Houston.
Oh, right, Houston, yeah.
Nice.
Anyway,
Close.
I know where FIDI is now, so yeah, I'm learned.
Cool. Next we have Melissa. Hello from Brooklyn. So excited to run tomorrow. I like how we call out using emojis, and everyone is now putting emojis in.
We're saving the best for last. The last day, people are dropping emojis, so now we know for the future. Maria, so nice to see you both. Steve and Roberto, big hug from Florida. Yeah, so nice to be seen. So nice to meet you as well. So thank you for coming out, and good luck tomorrow.
All right. Any other questions? We have one question, one last question. Let's see what we got. I'm going to pull it up on the screen. You're going to pull it up on the screen. There we go, Terry. Oh, wait, got that one already. Any other questions? Cool. That is all we have time for today. We're all set with questions and shout outs. Thank you guys so much for watching our. There it is. I'm sorry. Eric, do you recommend wearing a t-shirt only for the race, assuming we warm up on the race? So this is a very good question. It's individualized what you're used to running. Start line is going to be about, 45 degrees-ish Fahrenheit. Always dress like it's about 10 degrees warmer. So what would you wear in about 55 degrees out there? Everyone's going to run differently. Some might wear long sleeve shirts. Some might wear shorts or capris or arm warmers or t-shirts. Cargo pants. So whatever you're comfortable in that temperature, Eric, is what you should wear. Just, try to, once again, stay warmish at the start line and you'll be good.
Yeah, and what I would say to that, because I'm going to probably be doing the same thing, is maybe wear a t-shirt or a long sleeve that, again, you don't mind discarding, as one of the earlier questions kind of alluded to. And, once you're a few miles into the race and you feel, properly warm, you could take it off and you could either discard it, toss it to, a spectator. I've done that in the past. Or you could just tie it around your waist. It don't weigh much. So, if it's something that you don't want to get rid of. But that's one sure-proof way to make sure that you're both warm once the race starts, and then also once you feel warmer, you could take it off and not be worried about, losing it. So
We got another one came in here. Let's see what it is.
Yeah, submit your questions. We're here for a bit.
Destiny says, how early before my wave time should I arrive at the start? Oh, thank you. So Destiny, check the website. We also had a pocket guide that'll show you the wave. So it'll depend.
There you go.
Take a screenshot of that. There you go. So it's about 60 to 90 minutes beforehand if you're wave 1, 6:15, wave 2, 6:35, wave 3, 7:05, and wave 4, 7:30. You can rewind that if you missed it. So we want to, I know it's early, but we want to give you time to avoid, if there are lines, to wait in those lines, if there's subway delays, if there are bathroom lines, NYPD security, just relaxing and not panicking. So we do stretch that time out for you. Once again, 25,000 people are doing what you were doing. So just multiply what you're doing and adding time to that. So we want you there nice and early.
Avoid the race before the race.
Ta-ding. That is it, Roberto. Thank you so much for a great final course strategy for the United Airlines NYC Half. And we'll see everyone at the finish line tomorrow afternoon.
Thank you, Steve. Have a good night.